I did not enjoy that. Welcome into the Toyota Losers Lounge. Still at least the Toyota Lounge, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. This is the DNVR Avalanche post-game show presented by Bet365 as the Avs lose to the Calgary Flames 3-2 in the shootout. I don't really care about the overtime. I don't really care about the shootout. I'll be honest with you. Not that big of a deal to me. The first two periods, the Avs were pretty definitively the better team, and then the third period, they went to sleep and blew it. Yep. The conversation about this game is not that complicated. Now, I'm sure we'll get into why they blew it, how the emotions of the game has changed, and what they could have done differently, and whether this is a recurring issue or not. But ultimately, I don't think the outcome of this game is particularly meaningful when it comes to the standings. The Avs get a point. Minnesota got a point tonight. Whatever. You stay in the third seed. Nothing really changes there. With that being said, let's start here. What is your level of concern after this game?
I'm not that concerned. I always say I'm not worried about, especially shootouts. I don't give a schneiskees about shootout. Like, I really don't. It's not part of hockey. So was it bad? The shootout. God, the Avs are bad in the shootout. Oh my God. Anyway, besides that, I just don't like that you're not protecting a lead. I don't like the fact that you're up by 2, you don't close it. Am I concerned about it? No. That I expect a little bit of a cruise control mode here for a few games? Yes, after going on the tear like that. No, that's what our team is. That's how good we are. Is it normal to go a little bit on cruise control? You just said it, like 2022. I get it. I'm not worried about that. I think it just shows you when the other team was more emotionally invested in the game in the third period, and it just shows you, like, again, put that back in the back of your head that's how it works. That's how it works in the NHL. And if you're not emotionally invested in the game, you're not going to win the game. And that's kind of what you take away from that. Their fourth line basically wanted it more than Jan, and this number 43 thought he was by himself on the ice, and he just went everywhere. And then he just kind of, he gets a goal and assist, and they get themselves back in the game. And then Lamborghini, that's he's a spark plug, and he kind of that's my disappointment tonight. My disappointment is not that they lost a point; they're going to finish third. We all know that. Like, It's not. It's not the end of the world. But it just reaffirms everything that this game, when you play all out, you have chances to win, and if you don't, and the other team all battles, you're gonna lose parts of the game. And the Avalanche lost the third period, and I got my ideas. Well, I'll talk about it later, but it is what it is. But am I worried about it for later? No, but I think it's more like, take a page out of this one and freaking always remember and put it in the back of your head.
Sure. We'll get to the main conversation that we're going to have. But first, let's talk about some of the good things in this game. Cale Makar, still really, really good. Sent Mackenzie Weegar to another dimension to get the Avs a 1-goal lead in the first period. Fun to watch. Still hoping Cale gets 30 this year. I do think... let me look at this at another way before we get into the negative side of it. Through 2 periods, the Avs are winning this game 2-0. And let's be honest, the Avs weren't bringing the 100% juice A game through those first 2 periods either. No. More than they brought in the third period when they went to sleep. But for the Avs to handle their business at that level of intensity, does that not give you confidence that when they do turn up the wick a little bit, that they'll start running teams over?
Yeah, I'm not. They've run teams over the last 12, 13 games, right? You know what I mean? But now it's like, again, I understand that. Now you got St. Louis that, again, for me, St. Louis was the more emotionally involved team in the game tonight. I have to give it to Calgary because of the third period. I agree. The first 40 minutes they were absolute dog poo poo. They were emotionally. I'm talking about Calgary, but in the third period, an event leads to all of a sudden they're like, oh, we can actually go and dominate if we want, not because they did at the end, and that's why the score was 2-2. But am I worried? No, but I've always told you, I understand that. I know there's a comparison to 2022. I don't disagree. But it's still not a good trait to have. When the other team feels they can outwork you and outpassion you, well, I mean, it shouldn't happen. I understand that they know they're going to be in third place and they know what it is, but it's just tough because it's tough to just turn on a switch. You know what I mean? Maybe they did it in 2022. Don't disagree. But and again, it's just they've been unbelievable the last 14 games. I'm not that dumb. I'm not that stupid. You're asking me there's 2 games at home right now against opponents that are hottest team in the league. This team dying to stay alive. You know what I mean? And the Avalanche come on the short side of it. For me, it's not because they lost in the shootout 3-2. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I don't count that as a loss. You know that. I don't count that as a win either when you go on the, whatever you call that, shootout. So, but you did lose the third period 2-0, and that's what I'm kind of basing it on. You know what I mean? I'm not basing it on the shootout. Again, you saw them crash in the net. We're looking at highlights right now. I mean, again, they were more involved, and you weren't. And I don't like that because I've seen it. I've lived it. I've lived it on Avalanche squads where all of a sudden, we're going to turn on the switch. And sometimes the switch doesn't turn on. So that's my only concern. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here in whatever it is, a few weeks. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you got to be careful because if you're going on cruise control, which is human nature, the one thing that is concerning when you go on cruise control is one thing. It's bad habits. And that's what you got to be careful with. We saw Marty the other day. All of a sudden, get bad habits the game before, got away with it, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just kind of, it hurt you. So you got to be careful with the bad habits. And when I say bad habits, it's like not responding emotionally to a push, not responding to a punch, meaning like an attack, meaning the team's giving you. I'm talking
bad
about
habits necessarily, but
I'm just saying if you're not responding to me, that's a bad habit. So it's like should easily be a response. And I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about Coleman. I'm saying like momentum, like or a push from the other team. You know what I mean? Like you got to respond from a push. You can't just get pushed around for 15 minutes. Sure. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not talking about Coleman. That's a different thing because again, I have my thoughts on that. But I'm talking about if you're getting pushed around, you got to have a counter push. You know what I mean? And you didn't see it in the third.
I think when you're talking about bad habits, I think the biggest thing for me, and maybe this is as much effort level as it is the habits, but it starts from the top down in this third period and overtime. Look no further than Nathan MacKinnon. Multiple shifts in both the third period and overtime. They're in the offensive zone, a turnover happens or whatever, and MacKinnon stands there and watches the play go the other direction. He doesn't back check. He doesn't get involved in the play. He doesn't hustle to the bench. You're just letting the play happen in front of you and not getting involved in the play. That totally not acceptable. 100% get that. I think I'm just far less worried about the Avs playing the way they need to play and once you hit the playoffs. But sure, if you have concerns about that becoming a habit, I get it. I'm not going to.
I mean, again, I'm not crazy in the sense that they've won 12 out of 14. I'm not saying that. All of a sudden, this is not even a loss, like I said. You lost the third period. That's why I'm mad. Because the other team was dead in the water. They have to get a point, or they're basically dead still, but they're trying to stay alive. And you didn't match that intensity. And that's, for me, that's where I get, again, it's 2 games. Now, if we see it again next 4, 5, 6 games, I'll be like, hey, buddy, I understand what you're saying about 2022. I get that. But it's been 6, 7, 8 games. It doesn't work that way because all of a sudden the bad habits creep in. And, the example you just showed is exactly that. And because that's where it starts. And it's, it doesn't matter. Oh, we don't need to respond. It doesn't matter. We don't need to backcheck. It doesn't matter. And that's where there's that
Yeah, you can't
slippery.
do that. You can't.
There's a slippery slope.
Stuff
there,
like that is
know?
how you take a 2-0 game and lose it 3-2.
And again,
straight
coaches,
up.
don't think coaches aren't going to address it. They're going to address it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, hey guys, okay, I understand the cruise control and everything, but right now we don't want to develop bad habits, and we want to make sure we play the right game and we play with the emotions needed to get involved in the game. And because all of a sudden, I say we've seen it before. All of a sudden, playoffs come and you get punched in the mouth, and all of a sudden, like whoa, you can never get momentum back. Ask Winnipeg last year, never got momentum back after that first game.
Yep.
Right? I'm just saying it just goes by quick, and I'm not setting the alarm button. Just going off from what we just saw and what we saw last game, and it's normal. They went on a 12-game run. They were absolutely fantastic. Everything went right. They punched back when they were punched. They were, counterattack. Last 2 games, it's a little bit lackadaisical, and that's why you saw that you only have 1 point out of 4, and that's why.
I think maybe the bigger frustration here is, what did Calgary really do to outplay you in the third period? Let's not pretend that Calgary had a great period and smoked you and lit you up and just looked like they were carrying the game.
No.
It was the Avs not living up to even that level of caliber. It was the Avs doing it to themselves. They were beating themselves in that third period. This was not a huge step up by the Calgary Flames in the third period. Yes, they played a little bit harder than they did in the first 2 periods, but it's a 2-goal game in the third period with a team with their life on the line. What do you think they were going to do? Like,
exactly.
To be honest, 8 minutes into the third period, I was like, wow, Calgary really hasn't pushed that much.
But it's their fourth line, right? Their fourth line scored both goals.
Yep.
Why? And then they created that havoc to shift before. So basically they had, 4 shifts in the third? And every time they made their presence felt. And they turned the game around for their team. You know what I mean? And that's right there. And I'm telling y'all, as a fourth liner, you're going to tell me, oh, okay, but look, LOC scored, right? You know what I mean? They're on the board. I get that. But it's like, yeah, but if you break it down, because you have to break it down, it's like, or their fourth line outplayed our fourth line in the third period. Their momentum guys outplayed our guys in the third period. Forget about the top guys. You know what I mean? You got outplayed by their muckers. You did. I mean, that's it. I mean, I can name you those 2 goals and that shift that they bulldozed like Wedgwood, and I mean, that's kind of what they were doing. So all of a sudden, their fourth line beat you. That's it. Why? Because they were more emotionally invested than you were, and that's it. That's the only difference.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's not hard. I mean, it's a passion. If you don't have passion in this game,
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna get outplayed. That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
But the Avs don't have anything to play for when you're, again, I hate saying that because they do, but compared to Calgary that's trying to stay alive, they didn't. And it showed, and you're right, it showed until the last 8 minutes, that's what it was.
Yeah, and I don't, the Avs played fine for the first 2 periods.
Yeah, they're fine.
I don't really have, did they play their best through the first 2 periods? No, but they played well enough to have a 2-goal lead and put themselves in the driver's seat of this game. They just didn't finish the game. They got into the third period, thought they could get away with just messing around for a period, and they absolutely could not. So, punished where punished deserved there, I guess, for Colorado.
You didn't get scoring from the second line. You didn't get scoring from, you know what I mean? Third line. The scoring's not there. I mean, you're losing. You scored 2. Last game, you scored 1. I mean, that's not a lot of goals for the Avalanche, right? You talk about 1.5 the last 2 games.
Third line feels a little bit problematic right now. I'm not that upset with the second line. Nelson has a post in overtime.
No,
Val has a couple of awesome grade A chances that just don't go.
You got to score.
Third line, I don't know. I don't feel good about it without Kiviranta on it right now. Whatever it is, just
we're missing the cat.
That line is not working right now.
I agree. I agree. I mean, you got to help out a little bit more, especially on those games, right? I always say that. You got to challenge yourself. I think the fourth line has responded offensively, right? A few times now in the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
And the third line's got to come up with some plays now. I mean, they do. You know what I mean? Ross and Charlie and whoever's on their side. The cat's not there. Maybe that's why, the cat makes a difference. He's got 16 tucks. He must do a good job, right? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. At some point, like, again, you scored 2, you scored 1, so you got 3 goals in 2 games. You got 1 point out of 4. And that's
I mean, I think this game was closer than some people might think to the Avs running away with it with some post hits, some missed opportunities, and some of that is on the Avs failing to execute, failing to finish plays, absolutely. But it's, I don't know. I'm probably less upset with this game than most people are, and I understand where you would come into this and be upset and have problems. So we'll get into those, and I think some of those are fair arguments, definitely justified. But either way, in the meantime, I am totally fixing everything right now. We are brought to you by a bunch of sponsors. So let's hit our first commercial break here and pay a few bills. Jump in with that, as we are, of course, sponsored by the official craft beer of DNVR in Breckenridge Brewery. You can go get yourself some Breck Brew today. Jump in with it. Get it anywhere in the 50 United States. I don't think it's available in Canada yet, but in the U.S. you can get it. Use the Breck Beer locator online at breckbrew.com to find it at a local liquor store near you. Also check out all their awesome merch. If you're local here, check out the Breck Brew Farmhouse. Great place to go grab a drink and have a good time, especially with warm weather coming around pretty soon here. Their open area is awesome. You can hang out in their field, have a good time. It's always awesome. And of course, get them down here at the DNVR bar. An Avalanche during an Avs game, the Breckenridge Brewery Avalanche that is $2 off when the Avs are playing. So jump in at the DNVR bar too with Breck Brew. Again, they're the official craft beer of DNVR. So jump in with them today. Again, breckbrew.com to get whatever you're feeling, whether it be beer, merch, or otherwise. And, once you've got a Breck Brew in your hand, I guess you probably get a Breck Brew after you get in here. As we're also brought to you by Empire Today. You got to build a good foundation and you got to have a good floor if you want to be successful. Actually felt the Avs built a pretty okay floor in this one. They just didn't finish the job. They left half the floor unfinished. Empire Today won't do that with you. Make sure you get in with them. Of course, they live and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ball game when it comes to flooring with Empire Today. You get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing from Empire Today. Plus, you can schedule an installation as soon as the next day. So Empire Today has you covered. You can get that $350 off discount when you go to empiretoday.com/DNVR. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. Again, code DNVR for a $350 discount over at empiretoday.com/DNVR. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/DNVR for full details. All right, second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I think there are still some other positives to get into, but let's get into the main conversation that we're going to have here. Blake Coleman punches Cale Makar in the face at the end of the second period. No two ways to look at that. He punches him in the face.
Yep.
Period ends. The Avs start the third period on a power play, but ultimately, either during the shift or later in the game, Blake Coleman is never challenged in any meaningful way physically post that play.
Nope.
I think I feel a little bit differently about it than you do, but I think the sentiment will ultimately be the same. And that sentiment is, it's pretty disappointing that the Avs didn't respond.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not for violence, and I know we make fun of my line there when I say that all the time. That's not what I'm, He's mad. Coleman's mad because... what's his name? Caleb reverse shoulders him a little bit, whatever. He feels that, he got an infraction committed on him, and then he gets up and then he just comes over and swings at him. Doesn't have the, hey, listen, Cale Makar's the best player in the world. And for me, that needs a response. It just does. I did not like that there was no response. Again, call the response that you score in the power play at the start of the third period, and then it's game over 3-0. There was no response there. They didn't score on their power play. So right away, okay, so your skill didn't respond.
And that I more have a problem with that side of it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm not. And again, it's not about fighting. You know that. I it's not an old take. But there's still, and there's a reason the Avalanche lost the game after that. If you do the math, they lost 2-0 after that play. So Coleman, there's a reason Tampa Bay win got him. He's not my favorite. There's a reason Calgary gave him that contract. You get involved. He changed the momentum of the game a little bit with that because then they felt after that, their fourth line, Klopka, whatever his name is, he felt that he's by himself on the ice. No one's going to do anything. So no one did anything to him. He's 6'9", and then he got a goal and assist. He's got, again, they get themselves back into the game and they cruise through everything, and no one was going to go near them, him and Lamborghini, and no one did anything. I don't like that. I don't think that's again, am I reading too much into it? I don't think so. I think I'm reading it into it right. Do I care that they lost that point? No. But I don't like when there's no response. It is whatever the response is. I don't know. You want to stay in the lineup. You want to be there. You want to be part of this. You got to go towards Coleman. You got to go Tom. It's still an element in sport of that. It's a team game. It's a pack of wolves mentality. If I'm a different team right now and I'm watching that game, again, if I work for a different team tonight, I'm following the Avalanche, I certainly write notes tonight. I really do. And that is not an old take. That is still the same take nowadays. And I write notes that, I don't know, maybe they don't have it. Maybe they don't have that physicality that if you're going after them that way, they can't respond. That certainly opens a little bit of a can of worms, a little bit of a window. And then I certainly write my reports tonight and get back to my employers and the other coaching staff and say, hey, maybe that's how you play them, because they don't respond. And when you don't respond, it gives you a little bit of, I don't know, swag or whatever. There was some swag there. Anderson is yelling at their bench after the second period, telling like Makar what didn't. And Anderson's got a loud mouth and all that kind of stuff. And Coleman too. And he's like yelling, oh, he got me first. And, so for me, it's like all of a sudden they felt they were alive a little bit there. They're like, oh, you know what? Let's go give it to those guys. And they did. And that, for me, that's a big part of the reason why they lost the third period.
Yeah, it's not the physicality for me. I don't think necessarily that the response needs to be a physical punchback. If that is the response, fine. I'm okay with it. But I think the response more, and historically for this core with the Avs, the response is you come down and you score a goal on that team. And instead, they come on that third period power play, don't do a whole lot, aren't able to finish on it. And then there's not a, hey, we didn't avenge our guy here, we need to keep pushing. There's a, let's go to sleep. They played that third period like they were up 4-0, exactly. And it was a 2-0 game.
So, and I'm not saying, and I agree, I understand this. We're all human nature, the situation they're in. They're gonna finish third. It is what it is, and what did you say before the game? No injuries, yep. And they certainly played that way. Nobody wanted to get engaged with anybody, and so again, here's what I'll say though. And if you do end up taking a penalty, and you know what? At the end of the day, usually those penalties, you kill them because that's how it is.
Yep.
You don't kill the offensive zone tripping penalties. That puck's in your net. You don't kill like a retaliation penalty in front of you. That puck's in your net. This is different. This is the best player in the world. Like absolutely got smacked by the other guy, and then there was no response. Am I reading too much into it? I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I love this team. I think they're awesome. They're the best team for me in the West. They're coming out of the West. It's not changing my mind. But tonight I did see something that I didn't like, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're talking about it. I did not like the response from the physical side of it to the skill side of it to everything. I didn't like their response.
I will say it was a long-term response I didn't like. I don't even think any Av even noticed it when it happened because it was behind the play. No one was really looking over there.
No, but you're going back in the locker room and don't worry about it. And here's what I'm going to tell you.
When the come out in the third period and no response.
I mean, again, that was the end of the period. The period was over. Right. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about the third period. And if I didn't see it, then you got a lot to learn. Not you. I'm talking about the players dressed in the lineup. If you're the best player on the planet laying on his belly out, you
just go grab somebody.
You better go see Brett in the video room and ask, hey, can I see what happened there? And again, I'm just saying that's how it is. And if not, then you got to get involved a little bit physically and emotionally in the game. You know what I mean? That's how it works.
As an aside here, and I want to be very clear,
yeah.
Avs deserve to lose this game anyway. I'm not insinuating any of that. Suspension worthy from Coleman? I mean, you blindside clock a guy in the head. Like, it's pretty bad.
Listen, I'm always having a great night until then. Then I got mad because for me, Makar is the best player in the world. So I was just like, I didn't like that. And I didn't like that. And then I was just like, again, you're talking about, which is the smartest comment you said all day, because it was a very smart comment.
I'm not very smart.
No. I mean, I love rudo. That's not what I'm saying. No, I know it came off wrong. I'm saying, but remember you said before the game, like, you want to escape there with no injuries.
Yep.
Well, guess what? That could have been an injury right there. You're talking about injuries?
Yeah.
That could have been an injury right there, because Coleman did not control his emotions there. He was mad. He was
he saw red,
PO'd
for sure.
And he said, well, and that's how that's how guys are out after a while. And again, I'm not defending Coleman, but I like what he did. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm trying to say. I didn't like it. Got me mad. But I just feel that there was flat after that. There was flat. That's what
Avs played a terrible third period. I'm not trying to argue that. They're not good enough.
Is it related? I do believe so.
I do think that if the NHL is at all serious about trying to protect hockey players, that Coleman should be suspended.
I mean,
you can't any more blatantly. Can you not punch a guy in the back of the head?
I didn't
essentially,
I didn't like it.
It's dumb. I'm just saying I would like a little bit of protection for the Avs players. Avs could do a better job of protecting their own. Fair enough. Not going to argue that with you. Look, I really don't have a ton to break down and say about this game, but just in case everyone wasn't mad enough at me, I'm about to make everyone a little bit more mad at me.
Why is the chat mad at you?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know if they're actually mad at me. This will make them mad at me.
Oh, shoot.
I am not about to tell you that Scott Wedgwood had a bad game.
Oh.
He made multiple huge saves through the first and second periods. But when you look at both of the goals that go in the back of the net, one's a rebound that he doesn't track at all, just completely loses the puck, and one beats him short side clean.
By fourth liner.
And then he gets out-dueled in the shootout by Vladar. Yeah, not saying he had a bad game. He held him to 2. He did his job in this one, but in this world where we're having a non-real conversation about, maybe Wedgwood could challenge for the starter, those 2 goals are why Wedgwood's not challenging for the starter spot.
Well, the way I look at it, and those guys have been so good. Wedgwood's been so good, and he was so clean, if you're going to nitpick his game tonight, the way I look at it is always like this. Were you better than the other guy? I didn't say, were you equal or better than the guy across from you? And for me, he wasn't better. He might have been equal. You know what I mean? You don't want to be worse, and that's usually a bad night. Were you equal? He's probably equal as Vladar, you know what I mean? And he wasn't better, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's, again, I hate that skills competition, so it's kind of hard for me. I hate talking about that. It's so dumb, the shootout. But, in the overtime, he gets saved by the post just like Vladar did. So that's what I'm saying. Very equal.
Yeah, it was pretty equal.
I'm going to talk, but again, he's been awesome since he's been there. But I agree with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can see why people will get mad if you say he had a bad game. That's, I know. You're just challenging a little bit the 2 goals that you saw, that you didn't like.
And I think,
I get it.
Again, you're looking for the Avs to find a way to win the game when you're looking at something like that. The team in front of him did not play a quality third period by any stretch of the imagination. He just wasn't able to bail them out. Yeah. And maybe that's a good lesson for the Avs to learn. It feels like the Avs have been bailed out by goaltending a good bit over this last month stretch of how successful they've been.
Sure, they've been awesome.
Remember to finish your lunch, Avs.
Eat the crust.
Your goalie can't hold them to 1 every night,
Yeah.
So go out there and do the job.
Eat the crust, help each other out. And that's why I say, again, we're talking about going into the playoffs, right? And checking boxes, right? Hey, our special teams, boom, boom, boom. Like tonight. What do they have? 1 power play, 2 power plays?
The Avs had 2.
So 0 for 2. Did they get a PK?
The first goal was on a PK. It was like 3 seconds left. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was at the end of it. That's right. Yeah. But anyway, okay. So you lost basically the special teams battle, right? And that's what I'm saying. Goaltending, all parts of it. Emotionally involved in the game. Check boxes. I think that's what the coaches are gonna, get back to the next day and talk about it with the team and say, look, there's a little bit of a pattern here. You know what I mean? After 3-4 games, look, we're not emotionally invested in the game. We got to get back to that. I understand there's 8 games now?
7.
7. So even worse. So, okay, no more. And trust me, coaches, that's all they harp on. Because they're so scared of the bad habits and we'll just turn on the switch because, that's the danger of being in a situation where you're really not moving in the standings. You know what I mean? And that's just human nature.
Yep.
2022, they were so high up, they weren't moving in the standings. Now this is kind of you're probably third and that's where you're at. So you're not moving in the standings. And as a player, it does have an effect on you. It does. But I understand what you're saying. Oh, but first drop of the puck, first playoff game, we'll be there. I get that. I've been on teams where all of a sudden you just can't turn it on. And that's what scares me. That's it. And I'm not saying it's 2 games. I'm not panicking.
Let me put it to you this way. If the Avs play like that in the playoffs, guess what? They absolutely deserve to lose them. They're like...
I'm not dumb. I mean, listen, this is not... I get it. I just... We when I say we as part of an Avalanche team,
sure.
it's just, again, it's a long time ago. We had everything. We had, the winning pedigree and everything, and it's the same thing. And I remember the guys like Pepe and Mike Keane talking about, can't just turn on the switch. And they were right, because we thought we could, and we got burnt by it. We didn't just turn on the switch. You know what I mean? And we were gone in the first round. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is what it is. I'm saying, so I have flashbacks. You know what I mean? I got like, we got to nip that in the butt. You know what I mean? When I see a little bit of it, I don't like it. Do I understand it? Absolutely. Have I been there? Absolutely. Do I think it's absolutely human nature? Yes. For sure.
I'll say this. Yeah. I would agree with that concept of being worried about them turning on the switch if these next 7 games, they do it 5 more times.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But
I'm not. It's just started.
Tonight, I'm just not that worried.
No,
about
I'm saying it's too me. I just felt the Blues were more emotionally invested in the game. I felt tonight, because of what happened there in that play, I felt Calgary was more emotionally invested in the game. So I'm like, okay, now it's starting to bother me. You know what I mean? Like, am I worried about it? No. But like you said, if it's going to go and happen 5 more times in the 7 more, and then I'll be really worried. But I'm not at that stage yet.
Agreed.
I'm just PO'd tonight. I am, because I don't like Makar.
Getting punched in the face?
I don't like that.
Me neither.
I'm just being a fan right now. And, again, he's not my teammate. I didn't like it.
Anyway, we do got to pay a few more bills here as I make more work for Tiff. So we'll jump over and pay the bills here in just a second. But, not everything goes perfect. That's life sometimes. Sometimes you need a little adversity. Hopefully you don't have too much adversity when it comes to your finances. But if you are struggling to keep track of things, that's where Monarch Money comes into play. Finances can always be messy and confusing, and Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control of all of your finances so you can stop earning and start growing. It's basically a command center for your accounts, your investments, and your money goals. Whatever it might be, you're not just managing your money, you're building your wealth. And you can get 50% off your first year of Monarch Money for our listeners here at DNVR. Look, it puts all your accounts, all your credit cards, all your investments in one place, so you'll always know where everything is. It's that easy to just check in with Monarch Money and take care of everything. It's a finance tool that was actually named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, so it's legit. It's one of the best ones out there. Go get with them. If you haven't had the chance to go check out Monarch Money yet, you can get over to monarchmoney.com today. You can get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money and use that DNVR code at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DNVR. Once you've taken care of your money and you're feeling good, maybe you have a little bit of extra spending cash, go get yourself a new pair of sunglasses. Go get yourself some Shady Rays so you can have dark sunglasses and not look at all the mistakes the Avs made in the third period. Jump in with Shady Rays today. Make sure you're using code DNVR when you check out with them to get 35% off any pair of polarized sunglasses. Of course, they have hundreds of different styles to choose from. They even have ski and snowboard goggles if that's your thing. Or if you're Eric, they have correctional sunglasses too. So you will be able to see with your Shady Rays. Given 5 stars by over 300,000 people, Shady Rays loves what they do. And the coolest part, the first 30 days after you buy a pair, if you don't like them, you lose them or you break them, Shady Rays will replace them entirely for free. So go check them out at shadyrays.com today. Jump in and get your new pair of sunglasses. Again, 35% off with code DNVR at shadyrays.com. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast here. I'm just not that worried about shootout and overtime stuff. Those things don't exist in the playoffs. It's cool when the Avs win. It's cool when they get that extra point. I don't have a problem with how they ultimately played out. What I will say is the Avs might actually be the worst team in the shootout in the NHL. Maybe. I
think you go with Charlie Lindgren next. That's what you do.
I
know it's Ryan. I know.
Let me just pull this up. Current players on the Avs since 2020. Nathan MacKinnon has had 18 shootout attempts. He's only scored on 3 of them. So if you're wondering why MacKinnon didn't go out in the shootout tonight, that's why. He's been actively bad in the shootout for the last 5 years. Has not done a great job. And the reality is the Avs don't have a ton of great guys. Nichushkin had been really good for them in the shootout. Obviously hits the post, doesn't get it done tonight. Everybody else either doesn't do the shootout or is bad. Druin, 2 attempts, no goals in the shootout for the Avs. Coyle scored on the first one, obviously didn't score tonight. They don't have anybody else. They don't have anyone else that even really takes shootout attempts. It's a weird thing.
I think they overcomplicate this. And what's his name back then? Like, God, he's retired like at least 5 years now. Remember Dallas Star? What was his name? He'd go down. He'd go down at an angle and shoot a low blocker.
Every time?
The guy was like 40 for 45. I forgot his name. God, the Swedish guy there. Played in Dallas, Edmonton. Anyway, I'll remember that. But again, it's not that complicated. You know what I mean? Like, you got to give yourself a chance. And sometimes they overcomplicate it. And I don't know. I hate the shootout. I think it's the dumbest thing in hockey. I love the NHL. I cannot stand the shootout. I
was just laughing a little bit because throwing out Ross Colton first just felt like Jared Bednar being like, I don't know, man. Here's a guy. Like,
I don't know. Sometimes you got to go with like unexpected people. Like, I think you should go like next time, just start with Taze, go to Makar, just go with the D. You know what I mean? Like, you say, you know what? Watch this. D's will take care of it. I mean, again, they can mess around. They're going to finish third. That's where they're at. You know what I mean? Let's not kid ourselves here. Too big of a gap either way to go up or down. And again, that doesn't exist in playoffs. So I'm not worried about shootout. Again, I will say it on the air, live again. Dumbest thing in hockey is a shootout. It doesn't make sense. It was funny when it was like invented because, oh, look, the crowd likes it. Buddy, there's nothing to like about this. This is so dumb. Untouched shooter, like going, I mean, please. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's not part of hockey. It's not. Thank God it doesn't exist in playoffs.
For the record, the only 2 Avs players that have more than 1 shootout goal in the last 5 years are MacKinnon and Nichushkin.
And they're both, like you said, struggling.
Yeah, the other one was Rantanen, who isn't here anymore, obviously.
Was Mikko good? I don't remember.
Not really. 5 for 19. Better than Mac.
But they don't play that many shootouts, the Avs,
They don't.
Because they usually clinch it or lose it in overtime. You know what I mean?
So
they go for it, which is nice. Maybe because they know, maybe they agree with us that it's the dumbest thing in the history of the NHL is the shootout.
Definitely dumb. I will give you that.
Even if the Avs were 100-0 in the last 100 games, I would tell you it's the dumbest thing. It's so stupid. Like, it's not part of hockey. It's not.
Is this
it's not tactical.
Stat?
It's not. There's nothing to do with hockey.
Hold on, Chad.
What?
This is a real stat that I just found, which is
shootouts.
Borderline unbelievable to me. Jack Johnson has a better shootout percentage than Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah, he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was good. I wouldn't say he was great, but he was good.
Who's the guy I'm thinking about? God. Played in Dallas.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but we can move on here. Part of the reason I'm not that upset is because the Avs had plenty of chances that if you're 1 or 2 inches better, you finish the game and you win. Whether it's Brock Nelson's overtime one that he beats the goalie clean and it doesn't quite go in, whether it's the post the Avs hit tonight, and they got some luck the other way. Calgary hit a few posts too.
Absolutely.
But this is not like, oh, the Avs only scored 2 goals and they're so far away from scoring more. They were lucky to score 2. It's no, they could have easily scored 4 or 5 tonight and ran away with this game. They didn't. They did not keep up the quality of play that they needed to, which is a problem. But on a lot of nights, another one goes in here and it's a 3-0 game in the third and it's easy. That's the problem. This is the disconnect for me. The Avs played like they got that goal and could cruise through the second period when it was only a 2-goal game. And that's why they got punished.
And that's why people are probably getting a little bit worried, right? Because you're not playing a 60-minute game. And then you hear all those cliches from coaches all the time. Like, I didn't like our effort for 60 tonight. And we all know in playoffs, you got to play 60. You're not going to get away with it. You're not. So those, again, I go back to the habits and that's what scares people. And that's what scares coaches. And because you're like, oh, come on, man. Or blow a 2-goal lead in the third period. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's a mistake. There's a turnover. There's no need for this. It's a silver platter. And I think that's what you take away from this game. Were you the better team for, again, the Avs had, 6 shots against after halfway through the game?
It was after 2 periods, they've given up 13 shots, I think.
But even like at the halfway mark of the game, there was 6 shots against.
Yeah,
remember, you're like, my God, Calgary
was mustering nothing, and the Avs were.
That's it. Yeah.
Again, through that point, I thought the Avs have played a B game and were dominating.
And that's why I thought, like, this is where my beef is, we're not getting an opponent that's really worthy of fighting right now. Like, they don't want to put up a fight. Because that's what you said. That's what I said.
Yep.
And don't think that's what they weren't saying. And then all of a sudden, when the other team started showing fight, the Avalanche didn't show fight anymore. And that's where, you know what I mean? For me, it's like, really? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, And that's the part that I'm like, Again, they didn't even lose. It's a tie. I'm going to go back like the old days. It's a tie. But I didn't like the 2-goal lead that went away.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's why it feels sour. You know what I mean?
I get it. If you're a little bit concerned about the third periods, I get it. When you look at the last stretch of games, the Avs have a handful of games where they either blew a lead or a game got closer than it should have been. And most of those they've gone on to win because they are a good enough hockey team to win anyway a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I think there is reason to analyze this third period and go, all right, we can't keep doing this. Like, you've gotten away with it some. You didn't get away with it tonight. And you certainly can't play like that in the playoffs and expect to win hockey games. Totally.
You got to be emotionally invested in the game. And that is, forget about talent, for what tactical side of things, forget about game plans, forget about everything. You got to be emotionally invested and more because it gets cranked up a few notches. Right, that's where legends are born. That's why that's where championships are born or built. Right, you know what I mean? Because it's built on emotions, and so you got to have your emotion part of your brain, or you got to be in the game. You know what I mean? And if it's not there, you got to muster up the energy. You got to figure it out.
Yeah,
and that's what I just kind of tonight. I'm like, I'm a little bit worried about it. So
I'm not as worried as you, but again, I understand where people are coming from if they are worried about it. If they do look at the third
I'm not
periods.
panicking about it. That is not.
I
what
understand
I'm saying.
being stressed there. I truly believe when it comes down to it, when the Avs are put in a situation where it's important, they'll step up in the third periods and they'll take care of teams.
And if they're not, I'll be really mad.
Yeah, and if they're not, then they deserve to lose. Like I'm comfortable with that conversation.
Yeah, because they got everything to do what they need to do. You know what I mean? So,
a couple of other things I kind of wanted to slide through here in this game. I'm not sure what you do to change the top 6 right now. Not that they were bad. Again, they scored you your first goal of the game. Yeah. It's nice work from MacKinnon and Lehkonen, honestly. He doesn't get a point on the play, but he's a big reason as to why Cale Makar was able to score that goal in the first place. But it does start to feel a little bit like they swapped Nichushkin and Lehkonen. Again.
Yep.
At what point are they tinkering too much there?
Well, the way I'm looking at it is somebody was tweeting after the game, like, I think Val and Marty, I think they have like 4 or 5 points in the last 18 games Val has 5-on-5.
Yeah, right. And
again, I tell you all the time, you might get points, on the power play. But that's where you get your cookies. But really, your production comes down to 5-on-5 production. And for me, that's so important. And I think we've seen a lot of good from the Avalanche lately, right? Obviously, some outstanding parts. But if you're nitpicking it, the 5-on-5 production for some of those guys has not been very good lately. It hasn't. Even like Lecky, that we know is like...
Even for MacKinnon's picked it back up, but for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, for what he is usually, I mean, again, we're nitpicking him, but the 5-on-5 production is going to need to go up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and right now it's lacking a little bit.
I guess the problem there is Lecky's been in this bender of a bad stretch.
Yeah.
But you're also seeing Val struggle to pick up points too. Val played pretty darn good. Yeah. Created a bunch of grade A chances, just couldn't get the puck to go in.
And we're talking about 5-on-5 points.
Right, you know what I mean? Not
Same
power
with Marty.
play stuff.
Same with Marty. Yeah. So they get their cookies, they get their production there, but at 5-on-5, it's been a little dry, a little thin. So I think, again, we thought that it was all good with the tinkering, and you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. So I'm asking, have they gone too far? Do you need to reset a little bit with some of that tinkering stuff?
Maybe. Maybe.
Not sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, we do have a couple of more bills to pay here, so let's pay those, and then we can start winding down the show here, as we are brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Toyota. Go get yourself a Toyota. Make sure you're driving. Look, they've got the motor that'll last a full 60 minutes, unlike the Avs motor in this one. Toyota has 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles, 16 different hybrid vehicles, whatever you're looking for. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, hatchbacks, Toyota's got it all. So go check them out. Make sure you're getting with Toyota, because they are the official vehicle of not just us here at DNVR, but the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche too. So they've got it all. I don't know what else to tell you. They've got a vehicle for everyone. You can find them at your Front Range Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Rathbone Centennial, Corin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mount States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Again, Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. Then, once you've got a Toyota to drive yourself around the city and jump in the car and be mad about Avs games or whatever it is you do, make sure you're also getting yourself out to UC Health too. UC Health, here to take care of you. They're the official health partner of the Colorado Avalanche. So if that's not enough reason, they also want to make sure you live like there is a tomorrow. You can visit uchealth.org for more info with them, but go check them out. My wife worked on the Anschutz campus for years. She loved it. They gave us great health care, and it was awesome. UC Health did a great job taking care of us. And whatever health problems you have, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's anything in between, UC Health has you covered. So get with them. Live extraordinary with UC Health over at uchealth.org today. Last period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I don't know, man. Games like this one just feel bad. I don't know that they actually are as bad as they feel, though.
No, I agree. But we got to talk about it after the game, and that's what we just saw, right?
Yeah.
And that's, again, does that mean that that's what I think's going to happen? And, well, first and foremost, there's no shootouts playoffs, so there you go. But again, the guy I was looking at was UC Jokinen.
Oh,
maybe the Avs should sign him. I mean, this guy was going down. You knew he was going low blocker, and he would just do it. He was dynamite.
Look, I've always, AJ said this too, that every team should be given one roster spot for a shootout specialist.
And then don't dress him in the playoffs, because it doesn't exist.
Right. I'll take Wolski, all right?
Give me
Wolski
sick.
back. Yeah.
Well, he was sick. He had those tall stick and lanky arms, and he would make. Oh my god! But
who's the one on social media? Pavel Barber.
No.
Yeah. He'd be sick.
You just sign him. I mean, that's all he does.
It'd be like what do you call that? Like a bullpen catcher, basically. Like
he's a choker. He couldn't do it. The bright lights, Pavel would choke it.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Sorry, I brought up Jokinen because it was killing me right now. I'm like, who's the guy that used to always go? And goalies knew it. They were like, buddy, we can't stop it. Like, it was crazy. He was amazing. But anyway, besides that, I don't even remember what the question was that you brought up.
I don't know that I even asked the question.
Oh, sorry.
I just said these games feel worse than they actually are.
Yeah, and I said, and I went to the shootout. I said, it doesn't exist. They lost in the shootout. And doesn't exist. But you're right. It doesn't feel as bad. And I think we make it, again, I'm more because I'm a little mad of what I saw the one play. And then after that, I felt that I felt pretty good about the Avs tonight until then. And then there I was like, okay. And then I just didn't like the third, obviously, because they lost the third 2-0.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
And that's it.
Nothing to like in the third. No argument there.
where I'm
Absolutely
at.
nothing to like in the third. But it is important to remember they played 2 pretty good periods. It is
Exactly.
important to remember, hey, the Avs got a pretty big depth goal from Logan O'Connor in this game, too.
That's right.
It's not like the Avs didn't do anything right in this game.
2-1-1 in that, like in their 4-game homestand.
Yeah.
Would have liked to see
Should have been 3-1,
or
but it's
whatever.
not.
We saw a 6-0 homestand last time,
Yep.
So I get that. But again, nice things. I thought Kale was dominant tonight again. I think he's skating well. He's involved. He wants the puck, like we saw him on that goal. And again, little things. Little things are right. Little things are happening, but you just got to make sure you do them all the way through, for 60 minutes. And unfortunately,
The NHL, you can't take periods off. Full
That's it.
stop. You did, and you paid the price for it.
we saw last game. You can't take a shift off. You know what I mean? And that's what happened.
That was what? The first goal and the game time goal are what? 48 seconds apart, a minute apart in this game? Like, they'll punish you for falling asleep.
Yep.
All right. We do have Jared Bednar's presser here, so let's play you guys that, see what he had to say, where he's at with a game like this one.
I didn't think we played very well tonight. Didn't love our effort at times. Didn't like the defending detail at times during the game. And then we had trouble putting the puck in the net a little bit again tonight. So not real pleased with the way we played tonight.
Is there anything like the Dallas game and the Montreal game and this one at all kind of similar? Are they actually similar to you? Like the multi-goal leads in the third period?
Well, no, I'm more concerned about what we're doing, why they're getting those chances, Like, so for me, I didn't like the start of our game, then I liked our game for quite a while, and then I just thought we got, we didn't defend with enough urgency. Like, we're playing teams, I want this to be these games against teams playing with desperation, okay? St. Louis, this game, Montreal, they're not just going to roll over and go away, right? So it's really good practice for us because they're playing must-win games, which is what every playoff game is, right? So for me, it's really good practice for our team to, we play good for a while, we build a lead, or we don't, like against St. Louis, and we need to come back. It's good practice for us in these situations to work our way through their defending, to solve their defending, to keep creating scoring chance and try to score goals. And when they're on pushes, it's good practice for us to handle it the right way and defend the right way, right? And I didn't think like St. Louis, we take the penalties. Tonight we get casual with the defending. So I haven't really loved our team's response here over these. It's not how we're going to have to handle it in the playoffs, right? So that's what's frustrating to me. I get it. Like, we know kind of where we're sitting. It's not must-win games for us. The season's dragging on, but the playoffs are still 7 games away, and look like tonight we were taking a break already.
It seems like maybe more of an issue with the lack of intensity than attention to detail.
I think it's both. Yeah, I think they go hand in hand. A lot of the lack of attention to detail tonight from me on the defending side of things at times during the game. And at times we're really good. Like second period, I don't know what the shots were by the time the second period was done, but we were probably pretty close to double and doing a better job defending after the first 10 minutes that I didn't like. And but I didn't like the third.
How did you choose your shooters and your shootout?
I just go on by some of the analytics that we have. Yeah. Colton's got a good track record. Coyle is our best and shot a lot. Scored a big goal the other day. Now I've always liked Val in him.
When it was 2-0, it felt like maybe there wasn't enough offensive juice. Is that, you always say they defend hard, but then come both the offense comes, so that's sort of what you saw that was happening in the first
I think it takes a certain amount of determination and intensity to create offensive scoring chances and execution, and then it takes, that and more to defend, right? And the defending part's no fun, but it's a necessity in this game. And, so for me, like, we didn't create as much as we normally do tonight because I didn't think the intensity was there. Like, some of the details missing on that side of it, too, and the intensity wasn't where it needed to be against a desperate hockey team.
Not trying to make an excuse for it, but it is an unusual situation compared to the past couple of years where you guys are a little stuck in a spot. It seems that you can't go too far up, you can't fall back. Is it difficult to create a sense of urgency when it's just not very present?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I mean, they all look at the standings and know the standings, and you win a handful of games here, and you probably stay ahead of St. Louis, and if you there's the likelihood of catching Dallas is kind of gone now, so that's the challenge. But I think there's things we can work on, right? Like, as a coach, you want, like, I understand it, I just don't like it.
Looking at Colorado has had 3 goals now in the last 4 games and has one of the better possession lines tonight.
Yeah.
Is that a line that's maybe separate in the conversation in terms of bringing energy?
No question. Yeah, no question. They were great. I really liked that line. I thought they did a nice job creating the chances, suppressing the chances. They worked extremely hard, as they always do. But we need that from everybody.
You said in the same listening you thought the team shooting was off. Did you feel that kind of was also part of it?
Yeah, I think so. Like, we did some good things on the offensive side of it, didn't get rewarded. I didn't think we went to the net quite as hard as we did against St. Louis. I think we were stubborn at times going through the neutral zone. Like, they were standing up on everything. They've got a really good rush coverage and neutral zone takeaway rate here over the last 10 games. Their analytics are near the top of the league, and we got stubborn some of the time, and yet when we put it in and forechecked, we did a good job getting it back and creating some things in the offensive zone. So I think it was a little bit like our D zone. It was a little bit hit and miss tonight. There were some things I liked, some things I didn't, but you got to be more consistent with it.
You last one, please.
Obviously not the result you guys wanted, but MacKinnon reaches 110 points for a third straight year. Game that game, they've been the guys to do that since Gretzky. What can you say about his greatness?
Nothing that I haven't said all the time before. Yeah. I mean, he finds a way to chip in and help create offensively. And I didn't think they had a great night tonight, like that line or, a lot of our lines. But I think, that's what great players do. They find a way to chip away. And when they get opportunities, they tend to finish them off. And he's done that consistently. I mean, I've talked a lot about Nate over the last handful of years and what he's grown into as a player, and he continues that again this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I didn't like the Avs game in that one. Lots of mentions of intensity. I think that's pretty much spot on. No arguments with him on that one. We do have a few super chats to get to here. $5 from Evan that says, no one doing anything about Coleman or the dude crashing into Wedgwood is what really bothers me. No response to that is crazy concerning. Klapka crashing into Wedgwood, they kind of all jumped in the dog pile there. I don't really have a big problem with that one. I agree. Yeah, the Avs needed a response to Coleman. I'm usually more in the category of your response is go be skilled and go be a better hockey team and score the next goal on them. Because if you do that, the game's over. The Avs get that to 3-0 at the start of the third period. We're done here. We're not having this conversation.
Yep.
But if that doesn't work, then yeah, somebody has to step up and do something.
There you go.
You would like a better response for sure there. $2 from Dobayala. I don't know. I probably got your name right. Bags win cups. Avs have to toughen up. I think they're fine. I really do think this is a team that tried to get away with one and take a night off here. I'm just not concerned about it going long term.
That I agree with.
And in the moment, you hate that. Obviously, that sucks. But I don't think that's a long-term issue. And then 14 from Drew, who says, rather they get all the crap periods out of the way before the real games start, still say the first Calgary goal was more goalie interference than the Isles one that got called back. But whatever, on to the next. Let's have that conversation really quick. If you wanted to challenge it, I get it. There's contact with the skate there with Wedgwood's pad, and he kind of bumps him in the head even. I don't know that it's in the blue at all, but half the time that doesn't seem to matter with goalie interference challenges. I do get not challenging it from Bednar's perspective, though, because you just got scored on at the end of a PK. Your PKers are tired. You get that challenge wrong. Now you're on another full 2-minute PK with tired guys.
It's a 50-50, right? I mean, they opted against it, and that's fine. I
Obviously,
get it.
with
I
hindsight,
understand.
Calgary scores 50 seconds later and you feel dumb. But in the moment, I understand why you didn't challenge
But I
it.
understand why.
Thank you for sending us to overtime, Tiff. Appreciate you. Yeah. If you're still here, conversation continues online. If you're in chat, then obviously you're still here. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, whatever. Like, I understand sometimes it's a 50-50, and I understand why you challenge it, and I understand why you don't challenge it. So, it's all good. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
Whatever. I've said my piece about bad reffing enough in the past week, so I can't keep running it back.
We're good.
Look, do you love that the Avs lost 2 in a row? No. Do you love much about this game? I think you can like a lot about the first and second periods more than Bednar did, but no, you obviously don't love how this game played out. These last 7 games do matter. You do need the Avs to respond. You do need them to answer. You have a Chicago team and a Columbus team coming up on a Sega Baba that, frankly, you should blow both those teams out if you play to your ability.
Again, you went on the run. We all knew. We talked about it. You need that 10-game run. They got it. Perfect. I understand a little dip. I get it. But on the flip side of things, we're down to, 5-7 games right now.
Yep.
Like after these next back-to-back, you're down to 5.
Yep.
So coaches, don't want to just kind of tighten up the screw. They give them the benefit of the doubt here the last couple days, and then let's move on. But let's not do this again. You know what I mean? Let's move on and let's get emotionally involved in games and let's have a better effort.
Hey, look,
That's it.
You wanted to take a night off? Great, you did.
Yep.
No more nights off the rest of the season.
That's it.
All right, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate everybody hanging out. I know these ones can be frustrating. I don't know. Half of you might hate me more than ever after this show. It's all good. You're allowed to your opinion. We appreciate you watching, even if you hate me. This has been the DNVR Avalanche post-game show presented by Bet365. We are off tomorrow. There will be post-game stuff, but no pod tomorrow. So we will see you on Wednesday.
We all silly like the mayor.